I get the email and I'm like, yo, all right, this sounds amazing. And it's a comedy. And I don't really
Yeah.
do too much comedy, which is wild because, like, I'm a goofball. I like doing silly stuff and making people laugh. But this was just one of the few times that I actually got to audition for a comedy. And I'm just so glad that they hired me for the part.
So I wanted to start off with this first. You are in the Apple TV Plus series Shrinking, which premieres on January 27th. So what can fans expect from this series?
Fans can expect to laugh. Oh my
Nice.
goodness, I laughed so much making it. I laughed watching it. I'm talking about the rough cuts. I mean, the ones that ain't even done yet, and I'm laughing. So that's what I'm hoping that everybody does when they watch the show. But also, I think that fans can expect to be challenged a little bit. There's a lot of moments where you might be rooting for a character only to find out that that was something that's, maybe a little self-destructive or maybe a little inconsiderate, and it'll kind of wake people up to the nuances of like what it means to really be a friend.
Of course. And one of the things that stood out to me or stands out to me with the show is the all-star cast. Obviously, Jason Segel stars in it, Harrison Ford, Kristen Miller, Jessica Williams, just to name a few. But what made you want to be part of the show?
Well, when you're not one of the people you just listed, you just happy to get a job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it comes in, I get the email and I'm like, yo, all right, this sounds amazing. And it's a comedy. And I don't really
Yeah.
do too much comedy, which is wild because, like, I'm a goofball. I like doing silly stuff and making people laugh. But this was just one of the few times that I actually got to audition for a comedy. And I'm just so glad that they hired me for the part. Yeah, so I'm just really just glad to be here. When people talk about like what drew you to this, I just wanted to get hired most of all. But
Mhm.
what really made me excited to be a part of it was this all-star cast, and the script. Man, it's just a nuanced way of sharing a story of how people deal with grief.
Of course. And speaking of that, you play Sean, who's an Army veteran suffering from PTSD. So, what were some of the biggest challenges you endured while playing this character?
Great question. One of the biggest challenges for me is usually when the character is different from me, like speaks different, walks different. I find it easier for me to play.
Mhm.
But Sean walks like me. He talks like me. You'll hear my voice when Sean speaks, as opposed to other roles I've played where like I'm affecting a sort of demeanor, or doing my best to be some guy I knew from high school or some person I'm channeling from that I met on the street one day. Sean is like he walks like me, talks like me, moves like me, breathes like me. He just does not think like me. There's a big difference in our personality dispositions. And he may be thinking about what's efficient and what's effective. And I'm half the time thinking about having a good time, and
Yeah.
I think his training separates him from me in a way, in a lot of ways that are some things I can respect that I want to steal from him. But something that I want him to learn that I have is to find joy in just if there's a crack of light in the shed, there's something to be grateful for.
Hmm. And Sean is a patient of Jimmy, and Jimmy's obviously played by Jason Segel. So, what was it like working with him so much on set?
Oh man. Okay, Jason is funny when he's not getting paid. I'm like, bro, you really just make people laugh like this for free. Like he's such a warm dude, but he's got this sort of mind that I think organizes thoughts and emotions in such a wonderful way. Because I'll watch him play Jimmy 8 different times, 8 different ways, in 8 different takes.
Hmm.
And then I've got like, man, I did my homework. I got like 3 different ideas for this scene. But gratefully, we have wonderful
Yeah.
directors like James Ponsoldt, for example, who can help build and add a spark here and there to make sure that there's variety and versatility in my performance as well. But Jason, he just really raises the bar every time we're on set. He's an impressive comedic force, to say the least. Whew.
Absolutely. I can definitely see that. And also, Shrinking stars Harrison Ford. Now, I watched the first few episodes, You don't share necessarily any scenes with Harrison Ford, but did you get a chance to interact with him? And if so, what was he like on set?
So the first day I got to spend some time with Harrison was a scene where Sean's kind of going and Paul's coming, and there's like a oh man, it's just the first day I met him, he was just so funny. And oh man, real quick, this is a great conversation that Jason was having with Harrison, where he asked Harrison, he's like, "Hey, isn't it like really cool to just fly planes?" And then Harrison was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Dope." And I was like, "You say that so nonchalantly, man. Like, yo, that's pretty cool. Like, you gangster for that. Like, okay, you real G for that." And he goes, "G, huh? Oh, G." I'm like, "Oh, yes, sir." He had corrected me. I was like, "Oh, I thought it was just gangster." He said, "No, sir, original gangster." I said, "You got it, Mr. Harrison." He's hilarious. He's a good dude. He's a funny dude and a great performer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things that stands out with Shrinking is it's created by Bill Lawrence and Brett Goldstein. Both of those are well known for Ted Lasso. So what was it like, working with them, collaborating with them, and what were they like on set?
So I only got to meet Brett once, and he hilariously, at least from what I've seen, is nothing like Roy in terms of the gruffness. He's so sweet. And well, I mean, Roy is too. So I guess we got that in common. I'm obsessed with Ted Lasso. I could talk about that show forever too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he handled things while he was still working in the UK, and he would send like encouraging emails and messages. I'm like, this is amazing. He's just encouraging us to keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great from afar, from the other side of the world. Even though he's working on one of the biggest shows of all time, he's got the time to just send some encouragement, which was amazing. And then Bill, he was boots on the ground, and watching him work was kind of like watching like a Beethoven or a Michael Jordan of sorts, where it's just, okay, you're the best in the game. His mind is built differently. The dude just thinks in scripts, and man, he's so kind and will really kind of push to make sure that the script is in tip-top shape. And they all work so well together. Ah, man, I'm such a nerd about this show. I'm a really big fan of Shrinking, and I just can't wait for people to see it.
Absolutely. And Shrinking is, obviously a comedy, but it deals with serious issues like a loss of a family member, PTSD, and so forth and so on. So what's the one thing you want fans to take away from this series?
One thing. If I had to pick one thing for fans to take away, it would be that I would say that grief is inevitable, but you have to go through it. You can't avoid it. You can't skip it. Mm-hmm. You can't pretend it's not there. The only way to get to the other side is to go through it. And managing grief is about how to go through it healthily. And it doesn't mean easily, and it doesn't mean painlessly. It means healthily, which sometimes healthy things can hurt. Sometimes the medicine don't taste good, but it'll help you. And our show is about mental health and managing that grief, but also about trying to be better people. And that's something I really, really love about Shrinking. It makes me proud to be a part of it. It's about people who want to be good people.
Of course. And last question for me before I let you go is, along with Shrinking, you have appeared in shows such as CSI Vegas and the Paramount Plus series Players. So what's next for you? Do you have something new in the works, or are you going to be back on CSI Vegas, or is another season of Players coming?
Thanks for asking, by the way, but I just wrapped a new film called The Nickel Boys, which is an adaptation of a famous book by Colson Whitehead into a film. And it's about a reform school that existed in Florida for 100 years, where they really didn't treat their students very well at all. And I'm excited for people to see that. And I will be back in CSI Vegas this season, in season 2. I think in a couple of weeks we'll see Brian, which is my character's name, again shortly. So thanks for asking. But yeah, that's all I got coming up next. And aside from that, Shrinking, baby. I'm hoping people really enjoy the show.
They definitely will. I'm looking forward to everything you else have going on. Luke, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Again, congratulations on shrinking and continued success to you.
Thank you so much. Great meeting you today, man.